Good afternoon. I'll call this June 16th, 2022 meeting of the Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District Board of Directors to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Director Nelson. Director Sierra.
Here.
Director Clark. Director Perotti.
Here.
Director Julian.
Here.
Director Infante.
Here.
Director Williams.
Here.
Director Hart. Director Rouse. Director Lavanino.
Here.
Director Osborne.
Here.
Director Waterfield.
Here.
And Chair Hartman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the housekeeping information so that people on Zoom will know how to participate?
Certainly. Members of the public who wish to address the board today may do so on any matters listed on the agenda during the public comment period at the Board of Supervisors hearing room in Santa Maria, the Board of Supervisors hearing room in Santa Barbara, or remotely via Zoom. To provide public comment in person, please deliver a speaker slip to the board clerk in Santa Maria, or if participating in Santa Barbara, please deliver a speaker slip to the designated APCD staff on location. If participating via desktop, laptop, or smartphone, click on the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. Or if participating via dial-in telephone, press *9. Thank you.
Please stand and join me in the pledge. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our first item of business today is reconsideration of the circumstances of the COVID-19 state of emergency. Madam Clerk, would you please read that into the record, please?
Item C, reconsider the circumstances of the COVID-19 state of emergency. Reconsider the circumstances of the COVID-19 state of emergency. 2, consider whether state or local officials continue to impose or recommend measures to promote social distancing. 3, find that the legislative body has reconsidered the circumstances of the state of emergency and that state or local officials continue to impose or recommend measures to promote social distancing. And 4, direct staff to continue to notice and hold hearings as remote hearings consistent with Government Code Section 54953E3.
Ms. Richardson, as our counsel, will you explain this for us?
Chair Hartman and directors, there have been no additional changes since the last time the board considered this, so you have discretion to continue to extend virtual hearings or determine to return to in-person.
Thank you. Do any board members have any comments they'd like to make about this? Do we have any public comment, Madam Clerk?
Chair Hartman, we did not receive any public comments.
So could I have a motion noting that we've reconsidered the circumstances of the COVID emergency and that we want to continue remote hearings as a way to promote social distancing?
So moved.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Director Sierra? You're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Perotti?
Aye.
Director Julian?
Aye.
Director Infante?
Aye.
Director Williams?
Aye.
Director Lavanino?
Aye.
Director Osborne? Aye. Director Waterfield?
Aye.
And Chair Hartman.
Aye.
Director Nelson, would you like to cast your vote for the reconsideration of the COVID-19 state of emergency?
Abstain.
Motion passes.
All right. The next item is to convene for closed session. We were having some technical difficulties. Have those been addressed or?
Santa Barbara is still not connected to the Zoom meeting.
Okay, so why don't we come back to
I'm
the-
here. Santa Barbara is here.
Is the conference room connected to the Zoom meeting?
Oh,
We're
I
we're
can
having
check.
technical difficulties with the conference room for closed session.
If it doesn't work, I can go into my office. And Zoom?
Yes, you can call in. I can. forward you-
Oh, so you're the only one in, okay.
I'm sitting here by myself in Santa Barbara, very big hearing room,
Okay.
all by my
we do have
lonesome.
to- Thank you, Director Williams. We do have to read the item. And
Right, Madam Clerk?
Item D, closed session, conference with labor negotiators, Government Code Section 54957.6, District Designated Representative Aaron Arlen Janay, Employee Organization, Engineering and Technicians Association.
So Madam Clerk, did we receive any public comments on closed session?
Chair Harman, we did not receive any public comments.
And before we adjourn to closed session, Madam Clerk, will you please direct those on Zoom?
At this moment, all board members participating via Zoom, please log off of the open session Zoom meeting and log into the closed session Zoom meeting. Once closed session concludes, please log back into open session. Thank you.
Okay, and about how long will we be?
We estimate approximately 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, so we adjourn now to closed session. We'll be back in about 20 minutes at about 1:30. Good afternoon. After a break for closed session, we're reconvening the meeting of the Barbara County Air Pollution Control District Board of Directors here in Santa Maria. And Council Richardson, would you report out from closed session, please?
Chair Hartman, today the board met with a conference with labor negotiators regarding engineering and technicians association and took no reportable action.
Thank you. So turning to our next item of business, the minutes of May 19th, 2022. Is there any discussion? Could I get a motion in a second to approve the minutes?
I'll move the minutes.
Second.
A motion by Director Lavanino, a second by Nelson. I think there was another, but I didn't know who it was, so we'll take it from Director Nelson. So would you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Director Nelson,
Aye.
Director Sierra,
Aye.
Director Perotti,
I will abstain. I wasn't here.
Director Julian,
Aye.
Director Infante,
Aye.
Director Williams,
Aye.
Director Rouse,
Aye.
Director Lavanino,
Aye.
Director Osborne,
Aye.
Director Waterfield,
I will abstain.
and Chair Hartman.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So next is our administrative agenda. Are there any items that any director would like to pull today? Seeing no lights here in Santa Maria, Madam Clerk, is there anyone on Zoom or in Santa Barbara that has an administrative item to pull?
Nobody on Zoom.
Is there any member of the public?
Chair Hartman, we did not receive any public comment.
All right, may I have a motion to approve the administrative agenda?
Second.
And again, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Director Nelson,
Aye.
Director Sierra,
Aye.
thank you. Director Perotti,
Aye.
Director Julian,
Aye.
Director Infante,
Aye.
Director Williams,
Aye.
Director Rouse,
Aye.
Director Lavanino,
Aye.
Director Osborne,
Aye.
Director Waterfield,
Aye.
and Chair Hartman.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, now to the director's report. We have a short agenda today.
I'll try not to take it all up with my director's report, but since we have time, no. I do have four items actually I'd like to bring to your attention. The first one relates to the EPA Technical Systems Audit. This week, we hosted the EPA Technical Systems Audit TSA team of our air monitoring program. The audit includes several staff from EPA Region 9, the California Air Resources Board, and the district's air monitoring team. Here's a picture. We have a All right, here's a picture of the individuals who are participating in the audit. This was the first day of our audit. We had a number of folks also who participated remotely during the entrance briefing. EPA conducts TSA audits of every state's air monitoring program system. And this year, the audit includes CARB's air monitoring program, as well as 3 air districts, Santa Barbara, San Joaquin Valley, and Shasta. TSA audits are done in the spirit of cooperation to ensure that the monitoring program is effective, the data is both technically and legally defensible, and that we're providing timely and accurate information for the public and the regulated purposes. The TSA is a week-long process that includes an evaluation of our field operations, in-office meetings, and we discuss all aspects of the monitoring operation. It's grueling, basically. Not only is it a very intense time when EPA is here, but preparing for it and responding to all of their survey questions and follow-up really took a lot of our monitoring staff and Molly's time in fulfilling their demand and their need. We're wrapping up the audit today. We actually had the exit briefing this morning before this meeting. It will take EPA months before we get a draft report for our review and our comments. During the exit briefing, they were able to provide some highlights of the strong program components that we're operating, and they also provided some areas where we're going to need to make some improvements. It's very nice because they did try to promote cooperation, working with the federal, state, and local agencies to pull this all off. At the very end, I think the strongest comment that I left with was twice during the exit briefing today, EPA management ensured us that we run a two very strong monitoring program. So that gave me some confidence moving forward that we're not going to be surprised when we get the report. And it's really nice also to see some of our best practices that they will likely share with the other air districts in the state. You know, CARB audits us on a regular basis. Molly and I were talking about the last time EPA was here, 0. This is the first time in over 50 years of operation that EPA. So I think the agency's been fortunate not to be audited by EPA because it's extremely time-consuming process. But with all of the work that we've been doing with CARB and our staff, we've been running a strong program all along. So it's just nice to have that. Of course, you want to make improvements where you can. But it's good to have that TSA behind us because it was definitely time consuming.
Do any other board members have any questions or comments about this, about the audit? Madam Clerk, anybody?
Nobody has their hand up on Zoom.
And will the results come back to us
We can
on the
definitely,
A agenda or
Yeah.
somehow?
we can make sure that that happens.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, the next up, we have the expansion of our motor pool. Is that slide showing? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Director Williams, I want to bring your attention to this item. This was actually an item that you mentioned for our budget adoption in the current fiscal year and our expansion of our motor pool fleet. We were very excited to have the expansion for our compliance division include an EV Bolt. This is the first 100% battery electric vehicle that our compliance division will be using. Brian Wong, and this is going to be his vehicle for doing inspections in South and Central Santa Barbara County. So this one gets over 250 miles in range. So this pulls of the 16 vehicles that we have in our vehicle pool, we have 2 all electric, 1 plug-in and 6 hybrid and 7 gasoline power. Next year in our budget, the compliance division plans to purchase 2 additional vehicles. One will be a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and the other, we're going to assess the all electric options and see if that will meet our needs. You know, and just to tell you, as you probably all know, getting vehicles is a really challenging thing right now.
Right.
We intended to have a plug-in electric as well, and it was unfortunate we weren't able to do that this fiscal year. All right, next up, last slide here. I wanted to give a highlight on a presentation that Caitlin McNally, our compliance division manager, participated in on March 25th to the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors. We were providing this presentation along the side of the county's planning and development, as well as the fire department and CalGEM, the California Department of Conservation Geologic Energy Management Division. CalGEM is much easier to say. The presentation was in response to a multi-agency briefing requested by the Board of Supervisors related to a 2021 grand jury report on idle oil wells in Santa Barbara County. In part of the presentation, Caitlin covered the district's authority to regulate oil and gas, what our inspections entail, the instrumentations that we use, and our process for documenting non-compliance with notices of violation. As a follow-up to the discussion at the May 24th Board of Supervisors meeting, the APCD staff will be bringing an annual report back to your board on oil and gas facilities in Santa Barbara County. And this will expand beyond just our agency. It will include the other partners who are also involved in this. I thought it would be a really good opportunity to highlight what is oil and gas operations, both onshore and offshore, how our rules interrelate with their operations, and how we go about ensuring compliance. So that will happen in 2023. All right, and the last item, we didn't someone didn't want a resolution necessarily, but we're going to include a presentation to Molly Pearson, who is retiring on June 5th from the Air Pollution Control District after serving 14 years. On July 2008, Molly was hired as an air quality specialist 2, promoted to an air quality specialist 3 the following year. In 2010, Molly was promoted to the community program supervisor, and the position was retitled planning and grant supervisor in 2014. And in January of 2018, she was promoted to division manager of the planning division, where she's been for the last 4 years for the service to the air district. In addition to the 14 years that she's contributed to air quality here in Santa Barbara County, Molly also has experience working in air quality for Ventura County Air Pollution Control District and Dames and Moore. So she has consultant work and other county work. So I'd say she's a true airhead from her career path, as we all are. So as you have all witnessed, Ms. Pearson is a regular attendee at the board meetings. She often gave presentations on many programs that she's overseen in the planning division. She's juggled a lot of work. I think that's one of the perks about the planning division. It has many important programs that they're responsible for managing, such as our monitoring, our grants and incentives, rulemaking, lead agency review or responsible agency review under CEQA. And then one of her favorite programs, I think, would be the vessel speed reduction program, which she's extremely committed to. She has always valued getting feedback and input from her staff in the decision-making process. I think that's one of Molly's largest strengths, is really ensuring that it's got team buy-in before decisions are made. And during the pandemic, she was one of our stellar employees who was at the office to make sure over those 2+ years that we had someone there that could respond as issues came up on the ground. Personally, she's lived our mission by commuting to work either on her electric bike or her zero emission vehicle. And at district gatherings, Molly has contributed to delicious baked goods, which make all of us smile. On her fun activities, I think back in the day, she was a spin instructor at YMCA. I even think one of our prior councils was part of her team that she would help lead through the spin classes. She's an avid swimmer. She takes the perk of living in Santa Barbara and does ocean swims. I know she actually has one of those planned later this afternoon. And she's recently picked up pickleball. So Molly is leaving very big shoes for us to fill, and we will definitely miss her.
Wow.
So I did submit a speaker slip.
Just this once will allow it.
Thank you. I'm per the instructions. I plan to be brief and to the point. And Erin pretty much said it all. Thank you to our fearless director, Erin Arlen Janae. I just want to say a few points. I started working with this agency, not for it, but as a consultant in 1989 as an intern when I was at UCSB, and it's been amazing to see the changes that have occurred in the agency and at the county level, and especially in the transportation sector. I've really enjoyed being part of an agency that has a really clear mission to improve air quality, and we've made so much progress, and I'm really excited about the future progress that the agency is going to make. I wanted to thank all of you, our board of directors, for your commitment to serving the public and the community. And last but not least, at the risk of being schmaltzy, I'm going to say so long and not goodbye, because as Erin said, I'm still going to be in the community. You'll see me playing pickleball or swimming in the ocean or traveling to other communities, but having this wonderful place to come back to. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
But that's really going to leave a hole. I mean, almost every meeting you're here, and
Yeah,
becoming
by the
the
way,
face
we have the job position is open. If you have anyone that you want to recommend, it closes the end of this month, so.
okay. One other question, do we put logos on the cars?
Yeah, we are in the process of getting a logo. That was a brand new. It's a puppy for us. And we're in the process now of getting the sign individual over to get those on the cars. But every APCD vehicle has our logo.
Okay, thank you. Now is time for public comment on matters not on today's agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody who would like to speak?
Chair Hartman, we did not receive any additional public comments.
Okay, turning to a discussion item. Madam Clerk, would you read that into the record?
Discussion item I1, determine that a rule for particulate matter control devices is no longer necessary to satisfy Assembly Bill 617 requirements. Consider recommendation as follows. 1, receive and file report regarding best available retrofit control technology, BARCT, for particulate matter control devices at Assembly Bill 617 industrial sources. And 2, adopt a resolution determining that a rule development proceeding for draft Rule 363 to implement BARCT for particular matter control devices is no longer necessary because the affected Assembly Bill 617 industrial source necessitation draft Rule 363 has requested changes to their district permit to operate to incorporate BARCT requirements that will be implemented no later than December 31st, 2020.
Arlen Janae.
All right, Tim Mitro will be presenting today. He's an air quality engineer in the planning division. He's been working with us on all rule activity associated with AB 617. This is the community air program. BARCT determination is one significant component of this. And I know Tim's going to give some background of how the BARCT requirements fit in, but I just wanted to put this in perspective. 617 is a community air protection program statewide. We have a lot of funds coming in this coming year for grants and incentives. Community engagement is also a big part of it. So Tim's going to talk about BARC, but even in the next presentation, when we talk grants and incentives, Mike will also give another perspective of this piece of legislation and what it means for our county.
All right, thank you for the introduction, Aaron. So as mentioned, my name is Tim Mitro. I am an air quality engineer in the planning division. And today we are going to be going over the Assembly Bill 617 Best Available Retrofit Control Technology Analysis, specifically for particulate matter control devices. Oh, they're coming. Title slide and onto slide 2. So the mandate for this assessment comes from Assembly Bill 617, which was enacted for community air protection. And one of the critical components of AB 617 is to require BARCT at the largest industrial sources within California, which are the sources that are subject to the California Cap and Trade regulation. As shown on the map, there are 6 of these large sources within Santa Barbara County. And these large facilities previously emitted more than 25,000 metric tons of greenhouse gases in a single year. And they're also capable of emitting large amounts of criteria air pollutants and toxic air contaminants. AB 617 requires these 6 facilities to be evaluated for BARCT, requiring the maximum degree of emission reductions to help reduce the air pollution in nearby communities. Your board adopted the BARCT rule development schedule back in 2018, and it showed that 6 categories of equipment would need to be evaluated for additional controls. And one of those categories is particulate matter control devices. So particulate matter is comprised of small solid or liquid particles that can stay suspended in the air for days, causing both visibility and health issues. At industrial plants, the primary type of PM control device is the baghouse, and baghouses work by using their filter media to capture the dirty waste streams as it's being pushed or pulled through the air filters. Baghouses began to see widespread use in the 1960s and 1970s, but since that time, there have still been improvements in both the designs and technologies to greatly improve their control efficiencies. So on this slide, we've included some pictures of both the exterior housing of the baghouse and what it could look like on the inside with all the interior bag filters. Large baghouses can be about 30 to 40 feet tall and use over 100 or more filters inside. So if a baghouse is working properly, it can achieve upwards of 99% control efficiency for the particulate matter emissions. But there is the catch that the bags may experience small rips or tears over time. So adequate maintenance is necessary to ensure that you maintain that high control efficiency. Modern baghouses also have the ability to be equipped with bag leak detection systems, or BLDSs. And what a BLDS does is it allows, gives the ability to detect if equipment damage or leakage is occurring in the baghouse. So it's a continuous monitoring system. And it allows the operator to take quick corrective action if they do see any early signs of leakage or damage occurring in the bags. So for this project, district staff reviewed the BARC determinations from other California air districts, and our BARC analysis is primarily based on the South Coast Air Quality Management District Rule 1155. The South Coast rule was adopted back in 2009, so industrial facilities in the greater Los Angeles region have been complying with these same standards for quite some time. And these standards are primarily focused on two main concepts. The first is that large baghouses must meet the BARC emission rate of 0.005 grains per dry standard cubic feet. They must be source tested to verify their emissions, and they must also be equipped with the bag leak detection system for continuous monitoring. And then the second main component is that the smaller units, they need to be monitored at least on a weekly basis through the use of EPA method 22 to make sure that there are no visible emissions coming from these smaller emission units. So the full BARC analysis, which goes through the specific details of each requirement, is attached to your board package for reference. Little water break. Okay. So this analysis will primarily affect Imerys, which is a diatomaceous earth processing facility located about 2 miles south of Lompoc. Operations have occurred at this Lompoc site for over 100 years, and Imerys uses over 60 different PM control devices to help control emissions from their various equipment processes and units. And at the start of this project, district staff reviewed Imerys's permit and identified multiple devices that needed additional controls to meet the BARC standards that we previously identified in the last slide. These standards were initially written into draft rule 363, and district staff communicated these requirements to Imerys through a public workshop and a series of meetings. As a result of these meetings, Imerys voluntarily submitted an authority to construct permit application to incorporate these standards directly into their operating permit. The ATC permit is attached to your board package, and this is the enforceable document that allows Imerys to start making the necessary modifications at their facility. Through this ATC process, Imerys will be removing 4 of their antiquated baghouses that are over 50 years old, and they will be performing additional monitoring to make sure that they can catch any early, that will lead to the early detection and repair of any of their equipment. These modernization efforts may cost up to $970,000 in capital costs and $52,000 per year in ongoing operating costs. But these costs are mainly reflective of purchasing and installing 2 brand new baghouses, which was the initial assessment that Imerys may have to do to comply with this assessment. But Imerys ultimately found a cheaper solution as they are just removing their older baghouses and rerouting the exhaust and consolidating it to some of their existing baghouses that still had sufficient capacity. On this slide, I've included some of the major milestones for the project. This PM control device project was initially identified back in December 2018, as it was on the BARC board, the board adopted BARC schedule. District staff then started to work on refining the elements of the project, and we released draft rule 363 for industry review in the fall of 2020 for comments and feedback. Staff hosted a joint workshop and community advisory council meeting in April of 2021. And then after that, we spent the following year working with representatives of Imerys to further discuss the BART requirements, the implementation timeline, and the authority to construct application. Staff provided the CAC with an update on the project in April of 2022, and the CAC members at that time were very supportive of this streamlined permit approach that the project was taking. And that brings us to today's board hearing, and I've shown the full BART implementation date at the end of December 31st, 2023, because that is the timeline for what from Assembly Bill 617. The mandate is that all controls have to be in place no later than December 31st, 2023. On to the staff recommendation. The recommendation is that a full rule development proceeding for particulate matter control devices is no longer necessary. Now, normally rules are created to specify the standards and implementation timelines, but in this case, Imerys voluntarily submitted the authority to construct application into their permits. So staff worked with district council on this streamlined approach and concludes that it effectively satisfies the AB 617 mandate because it accomplishes the emission reduction goals of the legislation. As for the remaining AB 617 facilities, as we still had 5 other sources that are subject to these standards, it is highly unlikely that they will install any PM control devices, but if for some reason they do in the future, these same standards would also apply to them. And finally, staff will be forwarding this BART analysis onto the California Air Resources Board to make sure that they can incorporate it into their BART webpage so that other air districts in California and communities in California have access to the information and see what we've done here locally in Santa Barbara County. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for taking the time to listen. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Do any directors have questions?
Only
Director
because
Waterford.
I'm hearing this for
Sure.
the first time, so excuse me if I'm very ignorant of these questions that I'm asking, but in the beginning, you talked about particulates flying out of these 6 different locations. Was that correct?
So we have 6 industrial facilities,
Right.
and all of them are engaged in quite a few different processes. Most of them are oil and gas operations, as we have ExxonMobil facilities with Lost Forest Canyon and PCEC, Pacific Coast Energy Company, and Orchid Hill, Cat Canyon West.
And
All of
what's
those are oil and gas
Okay.
operations that are primarily using engines, boilers, and turbines, and then also have a lot of fugitive reactive organic compounds from the processing of the oil. So those facilities don't engage in any particulate matter, any particulate matter operations. So as this rule analysis is only really affecting Imerys,
Okay,
who is a
that's-
diatomaceous earth processing facility.
Okay, thank you. I was just kind of, I heard you talk about Imerys all of the time, and so I was kind of wondering how the others fit in. And then with Windset, that's,
Windset Farms is an agricultural processing facility, and they have large boilers.
Mhm.
So that's what brought them into this analysis, but they don't have any particulate matter control devices.
okay, thank you.
And do any directors on Zoom or in Santa Barbara have questions?
Chair Hartman, I'm not seeing any hands up on Zoom.
Any public comment?
We did not receive any public comment.
And I just, is this a really novel approach to not have to have a rule, but instead incorporate it into a permit condition?
Yes, so this is something that, we were still talking with council a lot about having a rule that mainly is applying to one facility within the entire county. And if that one facility already incorporates all the conditions that we would have put in a rule into their permit, that It just makes it a very clear and concise way to cover this mandate.
And so Emerus was really a good citizen too by adapting to this and trying to accommodate the new requirements.
Yeah, and it was interesting during our CAC conversation, since we did have 2 CAC meetings, they were very supportive of a direct permit relationship versus an additional rule that would go through a lot of work, time, energy for only one source ever. So they applauded our efforts going forward with the permit modification, and the source was also pleased with the opportunity not to go through a hearing specifically targeting their operations. And then working with CARB, this is new for their staff as far as what other air districts are doing. And they're excited that we've been able to create a solution that worked well for the sources in Santa Barbara County, and willing to incorporate that in the information presented back to the legislature on the implementation of this law.
Terrific. Well done. With that, we need a motion and then a second to adopt a resolution, receive and file, and then adopt a resolution that we don't need this rule because it's been incorporated into the permit.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Director Osborne and seconded by Director Williams. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Director Nelson,
Aye.
Director Sierra,
Aye.
Director Prody,
Aye.
Director Julian,
Aye.
Director Infante,
Aye.
Director Williams,
Aye.
Director Rouse,
Aye.
Director Lavanino,
Aye.
Director Osborne,
Aye.
Director Waterfield,
Abstain.
and Chair Hartman.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. And Madam Clerk, would you read the next item into the agenda, please?
Discussion item I2, overview of voluntary clean air grant and incentive programs. Receive and file a presentation on the status of the district's clean air grant and incentive programs.
Director Arlen Janae.
All right, good afternoon. We have one final presentation today, and this is a feel-good presentation on what we've been able to accomplish in the last year as it relates to voluntary grants and incentives. Mike McKay, Air Quality Specialist in the Planning Division, will be presenting. And as you'll see from his presentation of what we've been able to accomplish in the last year and what we have going forward, grants continue to get a lot of support, and we continue to see an increase in the funding available for these great programs.
Good.
There we
Better?
are.
Right. Good afternoon, Chair Hartman and members of the board. Today I'll be giving you a brief presentation of the district's grant and incentive programs. I'll be covering our current fiscal year funding, locations and types of projects, and expected funding for next fiscal year. Over the last 34 years, the district has distributed over $50 million in state and local funds for grant and incentive projects throughout the county. The mitigation funds you see in dark blue on the bottom right were collected from businesses that were required to mitigate excess emissions. Most of those funds were expended in the 1990s. And the DMV funds that you see in light blue and the CARB funds in green have been our primary source of funding since that time. The intended use of these funds is to help clean up equipment that is not required to be replaced by regulation. A lot of this equipment has been in service for decades, many of which have engines with no emission controls. Our program's goal is to incentivize the use of new, cleaner technology, which directly benefits businesses and community members as well as community health. Oh, those colors are tough. This slide represents the data from attachment 1, table 1 of your board letter. It shows the funding sources that we use for our programs this fiscal year. Utilizing each of these sources, we were able to fund a wide variety of projects throughout the county. One of the challenges we face are the types of projects that we are allowed to fund. For example, Carl Moyer funds can be used for any number of project types, from marine to infrastructure to agriculture, while farmer funds can only be used for agriculture projects. And you might notice that there are no community air protection incentive funds on this slide. During this last fiscal year, these funds were not made available to air districts throughout the state. And as such, our program funds were impacted. Despite that, we were still able to execute and fund a good number of projects throughout the county. So for our 2021 program, we had a 30-day application window. During that time, we received 78 applications. This was compared to 79 applications the previous year, which was during a 45-day window. So once an application is received and deemed complete, we rank potential projects by using several factors for prioritization. Projects in low-income communities and those with zero emission and near zero emission technology were at the top of that list. We also considered other factors like type of project and total emission reductions. And the next step of that process was discussing our rankings with Aaron and finalizing a list of projects that we would like to make offers to. We then performed a pre-inspection to confirm the location and operability of the existing equipment. And this helped us determine if a project would qualify for a funding. For example, the picture you see here is a pre-inspection photo taken in a field in a low-income area on the west side of the Santa Maria Valley. Once the pre-inspection was complete and the project qualified for funding, we would make an offer to the applicant and begin the next steps towards an executed grant agreement. Figure 1 of your board letter gives you a breakdown of expenditures for all of our grant incentive projects this fiscal year. And in the next few slides, I'll highlight some of those project types. For our grant program, we are funding 35 projects this fiscal year. 19 of them are off-road, and as you can see here, 12 infrastructure, 3 school bus, and 1 marine project. The top left is a marine project in the Santa Barbara Harbor. We funded the replacement of a 425 horsepower uncontrolled Tier 0 engine with a 425 horsepower Tier 3 marine engine, which is the cleanest commercially available marine engine at this time. The top right is an electric school bus that's been in the works since our 2018 program. With multiple delays in manufacturing, this new bus was finally delivered to the Santa Maria Joint Union High School District in late 2021. And the bottom row represents 2 infrastructure projects that were funded this fiscal year. Overall, we were able to fund 12 projects with 90 total charging ports, 59 of them level 2 and 31 level 3. And while infrastructure projects have become very popular, we continually work with all applicants to help them create a successful project in our county. Our off-road category is historically our most popular, and this fiscal year was no different, with 40% of our grant funds obligated to off-road equipment. These high usage projects tend to have great emission benefits when an engine with no emission controls is replaced with a Tier 4 final engine, which is the cleanest diesel engine available at this time. During a project life, we perform up to 4 separate inspections: a pre-inspection, a post-inspection, a salvage inspection, and an audit inspection, which is randomly assigned to funded projects on an annual basis to confirm that it's complying with the grant agreement. The images you can see on the left here are from pre-inspections for Bella Vista Produce and for Hilltop Produce, both of which are located in the Santa Maria Valley. Pictures on the right are post-inspection photos of the new equipment for those projects. And on the next slide is a short video. It's about 40 seconds showing what a salvage inspection entails. So as you can see, this tractor can no longer be used in the county or anywhere else for that matter. And the goal of these salvage inspections is to document. Right. Yeah. I mean, you could use it. Right. The goal of these salvage inspections is to ensure that the old polluting equipment frame and engine block are rendered unusable. And the state does require that we document this process with pictures and video, and it's something that the applicant needs to do before we can reimburse them for their project. So here we have a map of the county showing all grant project locations. The underlying light blue highlights low-income community areas as defined by the state. And in between the large portions of blue are smaller areas you might not be able to see in Carpinteria, parts of Santa Barbara, Goleta, Isla Vista, and a portion of Lompoc. And while we did not receive community air protection incentive funds this fiscal year, we did have a small dollar amount from 2020 that allowed us to fund one project with the remaining funds. In May of 2022, the priority population boundaries of this map were updated. And on a later slide, I'll show you the differences between the old and the new boundaries. So on the left, you see our grant incentive decal. We place this on all funded projects to help raise awareness of our agency and our programs. And on the right are testimonials from a few recipients of grant incentive funds. For example, Stardust Sport Fishing notes that access to grant funds are crucial to small businesses like mine, looking to upgrade to the best available technology to reduce emissions. These are great examples of how our programs are a positive impact to both business and personal lives within our community. In addition, it's a testament to the effectiveness of our outreach list that continues to grow and currently contains over 1,100 contacts. And on the last slide of this presentation, I have contact info for those that would like to be added to the list or just have questions. Moving on to next fiscal year, this slide represents data from attachment 1, table 3 of your board letter. It shows the proposed funding amounts we plan to utilize for our program this upcoming fiscal year. Funding for our 2022 program represents our largest amount to date, with over 40% of the district's budget being designated towards grants and incentives. And we'll keep the board apprised of any changes in funding as we move closer to our launch date. We recently received our executed contract with CARB to receive funding from the state to be used specifically for our new electric commercial landscape equipment. The guidelines for this program are currently being developed at the state level, and we are hoping to have some clear guidance in the coming months. Despite not having funding for our popular LEAF program last fiscal year, we continued to receive a lot of interest. So this new program, funded by Carl Moyer State Reserve, will be able to help fund projects throughout the county and continue the goal of replacing gas-powered landscape equipment with zero-emission technology. Our 2022 program is set to open on July 25th. We'll be utilizing a 38-day application window, where the final day for applications to be submitted will be August 31st. This window should be enough time for us to work with applicants that need assistance in submitting a complete application. The recently increased maximum grant amount of $250,000 has been important for applicants with large and expensive projects, especially those that fall under zero emission or near zero emission technology. The previous maximum of $150,000 was sometimes not enough to incentivize the replacement of the old equipment. And we look forward to reviewing projects that have the potential to meet the criteria for this new maximum. So in late June, we'll be sending an email to our outreach list announcing the upcoming 2022 program with details on how to apply, requirements to qualify, and information regarding all of our programs. So as mentioned earlier, the recent changes to low-income and disadvantaged community designations in our county were updated in May of 2022. So we found the best way to do this is to kind of toggle back and forth between the old and the new, just to give you an idea of the differences. There's a delay, which is great. So within our county, there are 3 pink areas which represent disadvantaged communities. There are 2 census tracts in Guadalupe and Goleta areas, along with the San Ynez Band of Chumash Indians reservations. The yellow bands around these areas represent communities within a ½ mile of a disadvantaged community. So in addition to the newly designated disadvantaged communities, the low-income communities within Santa Barbara County have also greatly expanded. You can see many portions of Santa Maria, Orcutt, Goleta, Santa Barbara, and Carpinteria have expanded. In addition, the large southwestern portion of Santa Barbara County now includes the entire city of Lompoc, along with the large expanded unincorporated area. So that's the end of the presentation. Here's my contact information, and any questions you have, I'd be happy to answer.
I had a question.
Director Lavanino.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Excellent presentation. Question about on the infrastructure side, is that also available to private companies, or is it only jurisdictions, cities, counties?
Oh, no, it's private. It's
Okay.
all encompassing. Yeah.
Right. Thanks. Do we get, I noticed, I mean, the examples were Chumash, and I think city of
in the city of
Lompoc.
Lompoc. Yeah,
But-
we get, we do get applications. We get lots of applications, and some of the private funding, when they find out how much money they're going to receive, they might not move forward with the
Right.
project.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Director Nelson.
Thank you, Chair Hartman. Can we go back to the slide 14 for a second? I want to understand a little bit better the difference between the pink and the blue.
sure, I have it on here.
Okay.
It'll take a second.
So the pink is the,
Disadvantaged,
and the blue,
low income.
low income.
Yeah.
Okay. And both of these areas, that's part of the grant process.
Yeah,
Are they
like,
going-
for example, the AB 617, those funds are specifically for those designated areas where the disadvantaged communities have a higher priority than the low income.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, thank you. And then I saw that there's that grant email list so that we can get that out to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can get information from you if you have
That'd be
any.
great.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we can get that out to our constituents.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. It might be good to send, when you make a press release or an announcement, get that to all the directors because we have newsletters, social media.
And you will definitely receive it. We'll be issuing a press release when we launch the window. I guess we're going to issue a press release probably in advance of launching the window to give.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
window opens end of July. By the end of this month, we'll have the stuff in, like, I'm meeting with the Ag Advisory Committee. We're meeting with the Harbor Commission, at the Santa Barbara Harbor. So we're reaching out as many
Great.
people as we can. Yeah.
Do any other directors have any questions or comments? Madam Clerk?
Director Prody has her hand up.
Director Parodi?
Thank you, Chair. In March, it was identified that Glida Old Town, is the pink on the map. And, it was troubling to hear that information about the statistics on that. What was it? The Cal Enviro screen model. So I'm just wondering, moving forward, I know we had talked about it at that meeting about maybe having another meeting or, getting in, what can we all do to help the communities that are in pink and are experiencing problems?
I can respond. We have had one meeting to date. The APCD staff who presented on Cal Enviro screen and myself and a few others met with the city of Galida's staff just to go over, for that community in particular, the indicators that were driving the ultimate designation of a disadvantaged community. We shared all of the information that we have available with staff. And at this point, staff is just chewing on it, trying to make sense of it, get a better understanding. So we're going to have a follow-up meeting with the city of Goleta. We're doing the same with the city of Guadalupe. We are going through, pulling all that information together, and we'll be arranging a meeting with city of Guadalupe staff as well. But I think as it relates to this presentation and the available funding that we have available in the window, it really behooves us to look into those jurisdictions that are designated by Cal Enviro's screen as a DAC and see what type of equipment and operations are eligible for the grant funds that we have at our, that will be included this year in our Clean Air Grant Fund. And I know, working with my staff, last time we were talking about the launch of this program, trying to look within those two communities as well as the Chumash tribal region to see what equipment's being operated there that the grant funds can actually benefit and secure emission reductions. So as it relates to grants, I think that would be our next best step. But more globally speaking, as it relates to those newly defined areas, I think it's going to go beyond just the grants that we have. It's going to be more community engagement and understanding on what's driving that ultimate designation. But this will definitely be one benefit to those regions.
Thank you.
And just to add to our entire program, our focus is on low income and disadvantaged communities. The AB 617 can only be used in those areas, but all of our funding, we prioritize to those areas.
Madam Clerk, are there any other directors who would like to speak?
No additional raised hands. on
Just,
And do we have any, I
Just-
think I hear Director Williams.
yes, and I'm just curious, how many vehicles has this been, enabled the transition of, and how many pieces of, I guess, gardening equipment, leaf blowers and trimmers, et cetera?
On the landscape side, I can get you those numbers. We do have a spreadsheet with both years and all the numbers that were gathered, the different types of equipment. As far as the vehicles go and the impact on purchase of new electric vehicles because of the charging stations, I don't know, Aaron, if you have anything to add to that.
I don't know on the electric vehicle or zero emission vehicle technology, but I know with the 50 million that our air district has been able to award, the majority of those funds have gone to heavy duty diesel change out.
Right.
On road and off road. And we don't have that total number of engine replacement available currently, but we can definitely get that and provide it back. And I think that would be a good bit of information to include in our news release when we're about to launch it, just to give a historical perspective of what we've been able to accomplish to date.
And we
Great.
do have, we do have reporting requirements on these grants. So for all of these infrastructure projects, we do have numbers of charges that they do take. So I'm sure there's some correlation. But as far as having that handy, I don't. So we can get that to you.
Yeah, I'd love to see a spreadsheet or something. That'd be great.
Madam Clerk, any public comment on this item?
Chair Hartman, we did not receive any public comment.
Okay, well, it's receive and file, so we don't need a vote. And so I think we're coming to the close of our meeting. Madam Clerk, any announcements?
This meeting will be rebroadcasted on Sunday, June 19th, 2022 at 5 p.m. on County of Santa Barbara TV channel 20.
And this meeting then is adjourned to a special date to be determined. Thank you.